Hello and welcome to the Thursday, May 8th, 2025 edition of the SANS Internet Storm Center's Stormcast. My name is Johannes Ulrich, and today I'm recording from San Diego, California. Today's diary comes from Xavier, and Xavier takes a look at an interesting piece of malware. This malware is written in .NET, not Python for a change, and it distinct itself by being very modular. Now, the way the modularity is implemented is if a particular feature is needed, the particular module DLL file is loaded from GitHub and then installed on the system. Some of these modules, for example, can install a rootkit. There is a token grabber module. There also is a password stealer. And then the one module that Xavier looks at a little bit closer is implementing some webcam functionality. The advantage of malware like this is that the initial download, first of all, is smaller and is also less likely going to trigger alerts because it doesn't contain any code that indicates that it may act malicious. That's only then added again later on demand. And since this malware is reasonably simple built, it's not obfuscated, it makes it a great sort of little learning tool in order to better understand how malware works. Then we have an interesting vulnerability to talk about again from sort of friends of the show, watchTowr. This vulnerability affects Sysaid. Sysaid is an IT service management platform, so it allows you to deal with help desk tickets, inventory, and various other sort of IT management tasks. Of course, software like this is always in the crosshairs of ransomware gangs, given that they're also often used by outsourced IT management companies that would give an actor access to multiple entities using one compromised Sysaid instance. Now, the vulnerabilities here start out with XML external entity vulnerabilities. This is a little bit a weird vulnerability if you're not familiar with XML. Essentially, in XML, you can define entities that are replacing a usually smaller string, well, with a larger string. So it's kind of a little simple compression scheme. But external and system entities are allowing you to not just replace strings, but also to replace an entity with the content of a file from the file system or the content of an external HTTP or HTTPS URL. So that's where it really gets interesting. watchTowr found 3 different vulnerabilities like this in a Sysaid. They used this vulnerability then to read a configuration file from the system. Again, you may just read essentially any file from the file system that your XML parser has access to. This particular file contained the administrative password. Well, of course, with that, they have now not just pre-authentication, but also authenticated access to the Sysaid instance. And they then also demonstrate how these vulnerabilities can be used to ultimately achieve remote code execution. As usual, pretty good read here from watchTowr if you're particularly interested in more details about the XML external entity vulnerability. Patches have been released by Sysaid, and given that there is an exploit available for it now, well, you better already applied it. And then we have a patch for the Cisco IOS XE wireless controller software. This patch fixes an arbitrary file upload vulnerability with a CVSS score of 10.0. The vulnerability is due to a hard-coded JSON web token. Well, at least it's not an SSH key or a simple password, but the effect is the same without really authenticating. The attacker is able to upload files and then trigger execution as root. This vulnerability should be fixed pretty quickly. However, the system is not vulnerable in the default configuration. In order for this vulnerability to be exploitable, you need to enable the out-of-band AP image download feature. If that feature is not enabled, then again, this is not exploitable. And if you're using the popular Unifi Protect cameras, be aware there is also a CVSS Score 10 vulnerability available for these cameras. Now, a patch is available as well from Ubiquity. The vulnerability itself, as it says here, allows an attacker with access to the management network to execute arbitrary code remotely without authentication, exploiting a heap buffer overflow vulnerability. This affects the firmware version 4.7.5.4.3 and earlier. A patch has been released in the last couple of days. Well, and that's it for today. So thanks for listening and talk to you again tomorrow. Bye.